Hey guys and gals, welcome in. This is Chris Keefer. How's it going? And today we're going to be talking about 2025 Yamaha YZ450F top mods to the chassis as well as the engine, things that I have done to mine that I think you guys will like for yours. Now, before we get into this whole thing here, I don't want to see the comments saying, hey, you just bought a $9,000, $10,000 motorcycle and now you got to dump more money into it. Look, I do these things acting like maybe you guys want to spend some money. If you don't, then you can disregard this video and you don't have to worry about it. You can just go ride your Yamaha and live happy. Look, I will say this, from a 2022 YZ450F to a 23, there is quite a bit of difference. And for me, I prefer a 22 because it was more planted, it was less rigid feeling, and I just like that, especially for me out here in Southern California. It was a little bit wide, it was a little bit heavy feeling, it did push a little bit in the corners, but it was planted. You knew what she was going to do. If there was somewhere rough, you knew where your tires were going to be, and it just, for me, was a more friendly feel. From 23 to 25, bike does feel lighter, feels more lively, it does have better cornering, but it still has some weak spots that I needed to work on to make it feel more planted. I like a stable motorcycle, so for you guys watching this, if you do like a stable motorcycle, then follow some of these chassis mods and you can get a friendlier YZ450F. So right off the bat, let's just start off with some engine. Look at, this is a lot of motorcycle. My wife is behind the camera right here. She can attest to some of the best times I've had is on a YZ450F, and some of the worst times I've had is on a YZ450F. And why is that? Just because this thing is the most fun to ride because it has that exciting engine character. But for me, when I get tired, I'm older, I want it to calm down a little bit, and I just want a smoother character, kind of like a KTM. So I'm sure there's going to be comments, Keefer, just buy a KTM, just buy a Kawasaki. Look it, understood. But some of you Yamaha guys want to calm down your Yamaha. So what can you do? And Yamaha Power Tuner app doesn't cost any money. So there's plenty of apps on my website. You can go to the website. There's plenty you can choose from to see if that is enough. Look, if that is not enough, what you guys can do is use one of those maps, and then you can come around here, Aiden, and you can go to an Akrapovic muffler. Out of all of the mufflers that are out there right now, this is the best muffler for not only durability, but also power. It smooths out the low end. It gives you guys that linear feel. It gives you more connection. I just think, yes, it is a lot of money, $1,500 to $1,700 range, but it does help calm this engine down. Again, you don't want it, no problem. The stock muffler is great. It just has a lot of front side. It has a lot of low end. So I want to smooth this thing out. Even with the Yamaha Power Tuner app, with the smoothest map I can make with the stock muffler, it's still fairly aggressive. So going to an Akrapovic, that's how you say it, Akrapovic, muffler does help that out. I've tried FMF, that's probably the second best muffler I've tried. Smooths out the low end, it just doesn't have that mid-range like the Akrapovic does. It just has a little bit better connectivity through the mid-range than the FMF, and the FMF can run a little bit dirty at times on D-cell pop. If you guys are running the FMF or the Akrapovic, just make sure to leave the insert in. A lot of you guys email me and say, hey, Keefer, I have D-cell pop, and that is because you're ripping that insert out and you simply need to have some back pressure, and that'll help that situation. So a muffler does help the Yamaha, not so much in the world of getting more power, but actually smoothing it out. Another thing that is inside here that you can't see is a flywheel weight. This is our 2024 workhorse YZ450F. We did put a Bundy built flywheel weight on it that adds a little bit of weight to this machine. I spoke with Chad Reed on the phone not too long ago. He said he hates flywheel weights, but for me, it actually makes more connection and calms that low end feeling down, and shockingly enough, creates a little bit less D-cell engine braking. So I do like that. It's not so heavy off throttle, so that is also a plus. You can simply send your flywheel weight into Bundy Built, and you can find them on Instagram. Basically what that's going to do, just give you a little bit more connection, give you a little bit more smoothness down low, and just create a little bit less engine braking, which this bike needs. If you want to go a little bit further, You can go to a twin air power flow kit right here. Look at the stock system. It's not bad. You do have to be careful with this air filter system, because when you do pull that air filter out, some nooks and crannies and sand can get down into that intake, and that is no good. So a little simple tip, you can tip this thing on its side, put the handlebar on the stand, and then remove that filter, and that helps prevent sand from falling inside the air intake. It's a simple thing, but it actually works wonders. If you do find some sand in there, you can actually get a long snout shop vac and suck that out. Easy to do. But the twin air power flow kit, it's an open mouth frame, not like a screen type like the stock one. But what that does, it just seals better than the stock system does. So getting a little bit better seal, not really performance advantage, a little bit louder, but it does help seal a little bit. The next thing is a little bit more expensive, but if you want to go a step further than the Yamaha Power Tuner app and really just make this custom tuned for you, what I've done, I went with Chad at XPR on a Vortex ECU. You guys hear me talk a lot about that. It's $1,000. It's a lot of money. Again, up to you if you want to decide if you need that. But what this Vortex ECU does, it just simply broadens the whole power band, and it just makes it a lot friendlier, easy to ride. I have ridden a stock 2025 YZ450F to my Vortex flywheel weight, a Kropovich muffler, and it is a completely different feeling motorcycle, not only in the engine but also the chassis. It just broadens everything up, makes third gear more usable, through corners. I can lug it a little bit better. So I've created some maps with Chad on the Vortex side that really does help this engine smooth out, make it long, and it just makes it super friendly to ride. We worked actually quite hard on that, so I'm proud of the maps that we've come up with. But the downside is it's expensive. So that is one thing that it does come with modification, is comes money. That's where this whole $10,000 motorcycle, why am I spending more money? That's up to you guys. It's not up to me. I'm just giving you the information so that way you spend your money wisely. Moving on the chassis, which I think is probably the most important piece of these modifications. There's 2 points to this. This is a very active, underneath me feeling motorcycle. Like the front end feels light, doesn't have a lot of contact when I'm on throttle. When loading the chassis, I get a little bit of twitch in front of me here through the head tube and the forks. So there's 2 things that I do here. You can point in here, Aiden. There's an FCP race. Look, Chris at FCP does a great job of creating some different dimensions for us chassis guys that want to tweak out on our chassis. So what this does is kick out this front end a little bit, creates a little bit more stability, and just gives a more calm feel Yamaha YZ450F. The next thing are these engine mounts. There's front engine mounts. We'll talk about the 2025 in a minute, but this is a solid versus a 2-piece front engine mount, and then a softer top engine mount. That's gonna give you a little bit better bump touch, slap down feel, just a little bit friendlier feel through your feet and your hands, which is key with this motorcycle, because since they went to the new chassis in 2023, it is a more rigid feeling bike. So you guys might be sitting there asking, well, Keefer, what about offset triple clamps? Which one should I pick? Should I pick offset triple clamps, or should I go with the FCP races? So essentially, we're doing similar things here, but from a feeling standpoint on the motorcycle, if you just put these on, you're going to get a little bit of a calmer feel and a little bit less busy front end under load. With, let's say, a 23.5 offset, because stock offset is 22, you're going to get a calmer feeling motorcycle on load, but I still get a light feeling front end when I'm on throttle, which I don't normally get with the races. So there is 2 different feelings there. Some of you guys going, hey, it's $600 for races and you can't see it. I want to be able to see what I'm spending. So you go with 23.5 millimeters, you can see the $600. It does help your bike a little bit. So I've chose the races over the clamps because I get a little bit more comfort with the stock clamp over some billet aluminum clamps or just another aftermarket clamp. They do make it more stable, but the comfort factor for me is huge on this thing, and that's why I'm sticking with the stock clamp at this time with the races. So again, if you want a calmer feeling motorcycle, the races. If you want a little bit better bump touch and comfort when you first hit that bump, these engine mounts do help that situation right there. So that is something that you guys can look into. Again, it's costing some money, but you're getting a Yamaha now that is more comfortable. The next thing that I think is probably some of the best mods that you can do. I'm not a big fan of the Yamaha front brake. As you can see here, we have a Brembo Master, which is a 2007 KTM master cylinder. And then down here we have an older style Nissan 2007 YZ caliper. Different pistons, different feel. I'm looking for a little bit more linear feel for my front brake where I can drag it but have a lot of power. This is the old Doug Dubach trick. You heard me talk about this on Gypsy Tales, but that is one of the key things for this bike. It's amazing what you guys don't know until you try. What is the old saying? You don't know what you got until you try it, and then you're like, holy shit, man, this is really good. So for me, once Doug introduced me to this, I haven't gone back to a stock Nissan system on a Yamaha since then. So you can see all of this on my website. There's part numbers. You can order from there right there to Rocky Mountain. It's simply pretty easy to do. And you're just using old parts that have different size pistons, and you're getting a different feel at the lever, which for me, I quite enjoy. Another maybe less important thing, but still fairly important, is I'm on an AT82 Dunlop front tire or a Dunlop MX3S front tire. You get more front tire contact, more traction. I like a scoop tire for some of these conditions we have out here in Southern California, but an MX34. And then some of you guys hit me up about gearing, 1452 or 1349. I am currently on a stock 1349 setup with that Vortex, and that seems to help this chassis out quite a bit, just simply because of the Vortex and how it delivers its power. Another thing I would like to talk about, look, suspension, of course, you guys get your stuff revalved. It is pretty firm stock, but once it breaks in, it's pretty soft. Look, at Yamaha went to a stiffer linkage in 2025. The rising rate's a little bit different. I personally do not like it. It forces the front end a little bit too much weight off throttle. It is a little bit better on throttle when you're getting through that chop and you want to have a little bit less squat. That 25 knuckle is better there, but in our conditions out here in Southern California, we don't get a lot of deep conditions. I prefer the 2024 knuckle or the REP knuckle. Right now I'm on a 2024 linkage. I prefer that for off throttle comfort. And then there's a lot of companies that have great settings for the Yamaha right now. I've tried Enzo, great settings. REP have great settings. Even Factory Connection, I've tried them. They have some great settings. So for me, I need a little bit of a stiffer front end feel. I'm only 175 pounds, and that does help this chassis when loading. So there's quite a bit of things that you can do to your bike to calm it down and to make it more friendly to ride. Those are the things that I would try for you guys out there. If you have any questions about this, hit me up, chris@keeferinctesting.com. I'm happy to help you guys out. And before we leave here, there's one last thing I want to mention. Works Connection is going to sell offset foot peg mounts for the new bike. Now they do have them, but they are currently for the older model, the 2022 and prior, when then you have to use the older peg. But now they have updated -5 down, -5 back mounts, and you can use your current 2023 to 2025 foot peg, which is great, because when I get back on the Yamaha feels the most foreign to me as far as the cockpit area. I feel like my knees are up high and I just feel a little bit cramped. So going to a -5 down, -5 back is simply a little bit better when you're trying to push down on your pegs through corners. So I prefer that. Works Connection should have that up on their website within a couple weeks. And by that time, you guys should be ripping around, having fun in your Yamaha. Some of you guys are gonna say, just buy a Kawasaki, just buy a Honda. That's fine. Go ahead and comment all of that if you want, I understand. But for you Yamaha diehard lovers out there, here is some top mods that I like to do on my bike to make this thing fun for me to ride. Hopefully you guys can see that and use that for your advantage wherever you are. And again, we're here to help you, no problem. Email me and we'll continue on this path of helping each other out and getting to you guys the best way that we know how, and that is through motorcycles. So we'll see you on the next video. Hopefully it helps you out.